He was 16 years old. His blood alcohol was nearly 3 times the adult limit. And on a dark road outside Fort Worth, he had just killed 4 people who were standing on the shoulder, and within months, a psychologist would tell a courtroom he couldn't be held fully responsible, because his family had given him too much. The word that psychologist used outlived the case. It became a punchline. It became a symbol of everything people already believed about money and justice. But the record underneath the joke is uglier, and sadder, than the country ever bothered to learn. This is what actually happened. It was the night of June 15, 2013. Earlier that evening, security cameras caught a teenager and his friends walking out of a Walmart with 2 cases of beer they hadn't paid for. Hours later, that teenager, Ethan Couch, was behind the wheel of his father's Ford F-350, a heavy work truck from the family metal company. 7 people were packed in and around it. He was doing roughly 70 in a 40-mile-an-hour zone. Not far up the road, a woman named Brianna Mitchell had broken down. Her SUV sat on the shoulder. A neighbor, Holly Boyles, and her daughter Shelby had come out to help. So had a passing youth pastor, Brian Jennings, who pulled over to lend a hand. For strangers, stopped in the dark, doing the most ordinary decent thing a person can do, helping someone stuck on the side of the road. Couch's truck never slowed. Investigators later put his blood alcohol at .24, and there was Valium in his system too. He plowed into all of them. Brianna Mitchell, 24. Holly Boyles, 52. Shelby Boyles, 21. Brian Jennings, 41. All 4 died where they stood. The wreck didn't stop there. 2 of Couch's own passengers were thrown from the bed of the truck. One of them, Sergio Molina, suffered brain damage so severe he was left paralyzed and unable to speak, able, his family said, to communicate only by blinking. 9 people in all were hurt that night. Here is the first hard thing the record teaches you about people. The 4 who died weren't reckless. They were the responsible ones. They stopped to help. And in a just world, that counts for something. The Knight simply didn't care. The case went to juvenile court that December, in front of Judge Jean Boyd. Prosecutors asked for 20 years. On paper it looked open and shut, an intoxicated driver, for dead, a paralyzed passenger, a stolen case of beer on the security tape. Then the defense called a psychologist named Gary Miller. And Miller told the court that Ethan Couch was a product of his upbringing, that his wealthy parents had never set limits, never taught him that actions carry consequences, that he'd been handed everything and held accountable for nothing. To describe it, Miller used a word almost no one in that courtroom had heard before. Affluenza. It wasn't a medical diagnosis. It isn't in any manual of disorders. It was, essentially, a metaphor, the idea that a child raised with unlimited money and zero accountability can grow up genuinely unable to link cause to effect. The defense's argument, stripped down, was this: he was too privileged to know better, and prison wouldn't fix what money had broken. Prosecutors pushed back hard. They argued the opposite, that Couch knew exactly what alcohol did, that a boy old enough to steal beer and drive a heavy truck was old enough to know he could kill someone. To them, affluenza wasn't an illness. It was an excuse with a price tag. Years later, Miller himself said he regretted the word. He said if he could go back, he'd never have used it, that it got twisted into something he didn't mean. But by then it was far too late. The word was already loose in the world. And this is the second thing the record shows about human nature. Give a crowd one strange word, and it will stop listening to everything else. Nobody remembers the hours of testimony. Nobody remembers the psychologist's regret. They remember the word, because the word confirmed what they already suspected about the rich. Judge Boyd did not sentence Ethan Couch to prison. She gave him 10 years of probation and ordered him into a treatment facility. No time behind bars for 4 deaths. The country came apart. To understand the fury, you have to understand what it looked like from the outside. A rich kid killed 4 people while drunk. His lawyers argued his wealth was the reason he shouldn't be punished, and it worked. Whether or not the word was the deciding factor, that was the story people took home. A defense that should have deepened his guilt had somehow become his escape. There was another detail that inflamed people. During the case, reports emerged that Couch's family had floated sending him to a private California treatment center that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. In the end, the judge ordered a state-run program instead, but the image stuck, a family trying to buy comfort where others would have gotten a cell. The families of the dead sat in that courtroom and watched a teenager walk out to treatment while the people he killed were in the ground. One relative said what a lot of people were thinking, that the sentence told every rich family in America their children were above the law. And notice what the public did with its anger. It didn't stay focused on the driver. It turned on the word. Affluenza became a national punchline, a symbol, a shorthand for a rigged system, because a symbol is easier to hate than a 16-year-old, and easier to argue about than 4 coffins. That's the third truth here. When a verdict offends us, we reach for a villain we can hold in one hand. A single word is a convenient villain. It can't defend itself, and hating it feels like justice, even when it changes nothing. For about 2 years, the story faded. Ethan Couch served his probation quietly. The terms were simple: no alcohol, no driving under the influence, stay clean, check in. Then, in December of 2015, a short cell phone video appeared online. It showed a young man who looked like Couch at a party, near people playing beer pong. Alcohol. A direct violation of his probation. That video should have brought him back to court. Instead, Ethan Couch vanished. So did his mother, Tanya. Prosecutors realized they couldn't find him. Investigators would later say the 2 of them had planned it, that they'd even held a going-away party before they ran. They drove to Mexico. For weeks, one of the most mocked defendants in America was a fugitive. And then the small details gave him up. In late December, authorities tracked them to Puerto Vallarta. The tip that reportedly cracked it was almost too fitting, a phone order for pizza that helped pin down where they were hiding. He had changed his hair to avoid being recognized. It didn't matter. Ethan and Tanya Couch were taken into custody in Mexico, and the whole affair, the wealth, the word, the running, collapsed into the image of a kid caught hiding in a resort town after ordering takeout. Here is the fourth thing the record makes plain. The escape wasn't a rich man's masterstroke. It was panic dressed as privilege. Money can buy a lot of distance. It cannot buy the discipline to disappear, and it never buys silence for long. Bringing him back took time. His mother, Tanya Couch, spent years fighting her own charge for helping him run. And the families he shattered filed civil suits against the Couches and the family business, because the courts that failed to jail him were the only place left to be heard. And Ethan, who had been a juvenile when he killed 4 people, was no longer a child. He had turned 19. That single fact changed everything, because it moved his case into the adult system. In April 2016, an adult judge handed down the sentence the juvenile court never did. Ethan Couch was ordered to serve 720 days in jail, 180 days for each of the 4 people he killed. It was not 20 years. It was not close to what the families wanted. After the deaths, the outrage, the flight to another country, the total time he served came to under 2 years. He was released in April of 2018, on parole, wearing an ankle monitor, ordered to stay sober and stay put. So what does the whole record actually say, once you clear away the joke? It says 4 people who stopped to help a stranger died on a dark road, and the man who killed them spent less than 2 years in custody. It says a clumsy word from a psychologist swallowed the entire story, so completely that most people can tell you affluenza, but not a single name of the dead. Brianna Mitchell, Holly Boyles, Shelby Boyles, Brian Jennings. And it leaves one uncomfortable question hanging over all of it. The country was furious that privilege dodged real punishment. But the anger burned out on a punchline and moved on, while the families lived with the silence forever. So ask yourself honestly, when the next case like this comes, will you remember the people who died, or just the clever word that let everyone stop looking? Follow for more.